Today is July 22nd, 2026. My name is Rob Carr of Kalamazoo Right to Life, and this is Pro-Life Week. Well, today's topic is the Michigan primary on August 4th, and there will be early voting available starting July 25th, I believe. So if you are a frequent early voter, avail yourself of that date and vote early. But today, I don't want to talk about all the different races in the primary, but two of them, and probably the two most important: the race for governor and the race for the U.S. Senate. Now, the governor's race, we know the Democratic candidate's going to be Jocelyn Benson. I believe she's the Secretary of State now for the Gretchen Whitmer administration. She's a pro-abortion zealot. There's no surprises what we would get from her. No surprises at all. And among the Republicans, initially we had four candidates, and all four candidates were endorsed by the Right to Left for Michigan Political Action Committee. But since those four candidates were endorsed, they all met a criteria that Right to Life imposes. So you had Eric Nesbitt and John James and Perry Johnson and Mike Cox. So I didn't give them in chronological or in alphabetical order. But several weeks ago, Eric Nesbitt dropped out. And then last week, Mike Cox dropped out. And I believe both of them dropped out because Trump has endorsed John James. But all four names are going to be on your ballot when you vote, because I think even Nesbitt dropped out too late to have all those printed ballots to be changed. So all four candidates are going to be there. And so we have two left. We have Perry Johnson and we have John James. And both are endorsed candidates. So I am not playing favorites. I'm not going to tell you who I'm going to vote for. All I'm going to say is the voters in Michigan, the pro-life Republican voters in Michigan, have a choice between Perry Johnson and John James. And however those votes, and when all the votes are tallied up, the winner is going to be our candidate, the pro-life candidate. And I'm just going to let it sit that way. I don't have any skin in the game, you might say. It's going to be either John James or Perry Johnson. Okay. Now, regarding the Senate is an interesting contest, not necessarily on the Republican side, but among the Democrats. And we have seen this being played out there. There used to be three candidates, one dropped out, and now it's Haley Stevens going against Mortal Kombat, going against this man from health director from Wayne County, Abdul El-Sayed. And it's interesting who you listen to. The moderate, conventional, average Democrat, or at least the Democratic leadership, they're all behind Haley Stevens because they see her as somebody who can perhaps even work with Republicans to get legislation passed. She's more accommodating. She's more willing to compromise. But don't kid yourself. This woman is a ideologue when it comes to abortion, and she's very pro LGBT. She's very pro transgender. She's very pro abortion. She is not a moderate. I mean, she may be a moderate compared to this El-Sayed guy, but she is not a moderate. She is not. And this El-Sayed fella, he is allied himself with the Bernie Sanders AOC wing of the party, the socialist wing, the radical extremist wing, the wing that really is very anti-Semitic. They don't like the state of Israel. They may not say they're pro-Hamas or Hezbollah, but you couldn't tell because they're very anti-Israel, very anti-Semitic. So a lot of people are saying, the national media is pretty much convinced that El Said is going to win and he's going to go against Mike Rogers. But I don't know. Is the Michigan voter so enamored with socialism that they're going to vote for this extremist, this anti-Semitic extremist man who I believe he's Muslim, which is not an issue because we don't have a religious test in America. But are we really, as a nation, are we really going to elect a socialist from one of the two major parties in Michigan, who has the potential of being a socialist senator from Michigan? Are we really expecting to see this happen? Well, I don't. He may well get the nomination in the primary, but I think he's going to have a much, much harder time in November going against Mike Rogers. And Rogers, we got a little axe to grind with him too, because when he was in the House, I'm not sure, like 10, 15 years, he was always endorsed by Right to Life in Michigan. He was a solid pro-life congressman. He worked with us. He was great. But then when he ran against Elissa Slotkin in 2024, somehow he kind of decided, well, I don't really need the pro-life vote. So he did not seek the Right to Life endorsement. And that has happened again in 26 here. He is not endorsed by Right to Life in Michigan. But he is pro-life, but he's not endorsed. So take that for what it's worth. He's far more pro-life than Haley Stevens or Abdul El Said. Far more pro-life. So if you're voting strictly on the abortion issue, I'd rather have somebody who's mostly with us than people who are 100% against us. But he is not endorsed. I'm trying to remind you that Mike Rogers is not endorsed by Right to Life in Michigan Political Action Committee. But historically, he has been pro-life. Mike Rogers, when he ran against Slotkin in 2024, he lost by less than 20,000 votes. So it's not like he is an unknown quantity, or that he is a gadfly, or he is a risk. No, he lost by a squeaker. 20,000 votes out of 7 million or 6 million voters is a very, very close race. He could have easily won that race. But Slotkin, perhaps to her credit, she campaigned in the middle, as a moderate. And I think the fact that she was a former CIA agent gave her some credibility, unlike a lot of other Democrats who despise the military. So she beat Rogers in a close race, but now he's going against a socialist, perhaps within El Said, or against somewhat of a loose cannon in Haley Stevens. So we'll see how that race plays out. But vote. If that's the last word that I'm going to say on this little broadcast, is the word vote. If pro-lifers do not vote, whether it's in the primary, but especially in the general election, if we do not vote, we will lose. And there's no getting around that. Pro-life voters, like 30% of pro-life voters in Michigan, don't vote in the midterms. Why? Why is that? We must vote. If we don't vote, we will lose. Rogers will lose, and Perry Johnson will lose, or John James will lose for the governor's race. We can win these races, but we have to vote. It's not difficult. This is not rocket science. We must vote. We must exercise the franchise. We must vote, because if we can win. Michigan historically has been a pro-life state. There's a lot of Christians and conservatives in this state. All we have to do is walk to the polling station, get in our car, and drive 3 blocks and vote. That's all we have to do is vote. August 4th primary, Michigan primary, vote. With that, I'll let you go, and I'll see you next time.